Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. Let's talk about what's happening in the United States of America. And let's talk about it seriously. But let's do something else. Let's break down the various component parts. And there are different component parts because people are talking about different issues in different ways. The first thing we better deal with is the question of ICE. How powerful should a federal agency be in terms of its powers, its police powers? And this is a question which I'm asking very sincerely. Is ICE performing its function as it should? And is the issue really illegal immigration or illegal immigrants? It seems to me that issue has faded. We know that there are people in this country who should not be here, and it is the job of the federal government to remove them. The question you have to ask is ICE being used as an enforcement tool or as a political tool? And I would suggest to you that the great battle over ICE today is whether or not the federal government, the President of the United States, is using ICE for political purposes and not for enforcement purposes. All you have to do is take a look at the roundups taking place now to understand that this is antithetical to everything we as Americans have believed over the years. Not since the Palmer raids of 1919, when people were indiscriminately rounded up to be deported because they were thought to be communists, have we confronted the kind of situation that we are in now. Claims are being made about illegal immigrants by the President of the United States and the Department of Justice, which frankly have little or no substance. It is part of their political rhetoric, not part of the practical aspects of what is happening. There is a second issue which needs to be defined very clearly. And that is the confrontation between the President of the United States and the Governor of California and the Mayor of Los Angeles. We understand that Donald Trump has a political agenda, which he is asserting. We heard it yesterday in a major address which he delivered on a military base, explaining that America was under siege and most assuredly that Los Angeles was burning. This, frankly, is not true. A few square blocks of Los Angeles were the center and focus of the demonstrations. But Los Angeles is not burning. And it is important to point out that there is a confrontation taking place between the president and the governor of California and the mayor of Los Angeles. The governor of California addressed the nation and the state yesterday, defining what he believed to be an overreach of presidential power. That view was endorsed by the mayor of Los Angeles. We have two elected public officials here in California who are witness to what is happening on the ground, who are being clear and precise in their united front against the assertion of presidential power. There is another factor which needs to be considered, and that is the idea that Donald Trump could say that he and he alone has prevented Los Angeles from burning to the ground. We know, all of us know, that is not true. There is a third element here, which we must also consider, and that is the question of the future of the sanctuary cities. Do cities and states have the right to declare themselves sanctuary cities? And does that hurt American national security? I would suggest to you the answer is no. Clearly, there is a problem with immigration, but it is not a threat to our national security, and every time Donald Trump says that, I become more and more concerned. I want to be clear about something else that is also a part of this. There is speculation that President Trump might call out the Insurrection Act in order to increase his powers. Let me point out that when the capital of the United States, Our secular cathedral of democracy was under attack, really under attack, with real disturbances. The President of the United States, who had the power to call out the National Guard, did not. The President of the United States stood back and did nothing until, essentially, he was forced to say, go home, be peaceful. This, to me, is a real question, because the insurrection is not taking place now. It took place on January 6th. And I would remind you that this president pardoned all of those involved in the January 6th demonstrations. He let them go, even the Proud Boys. Let me tell you, what this president did was a complete dereliction of duty, in my judgment. And there is yet another element, and that is the question of a fear tactic to scare the American people, as Donald Trump has tried to do, over what is happening in Los Angeles. As someone who remembers vividly the Watts riots of 1965, as someone who was in Los Angeles during the Rodney King incident, I know what a genuine riot, what a genuine, well, I don't even think you can call it an insurrection. It isn't. It wasn't an insurrection against a government. It didn't try to obstruct democracy. I listened last night to Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, and I immediately got an email from one of our listeners who lives in Oregon, Tim, who asked me, is Gavin Newsom running for president? The answer is, I'm sure he is running for president. But that was not the issue last night. The issue last night is the confrontation between the President of the United States versus the governor of California and the mayor of Los Angeles. I say this because I want everyone to understand the question of illegal immigration is an issue. The question of how you use ICE is an issue. The question of whether or not Marines should have been dispatched to California, by the way, with no training, no ability to have any real impact, whether those actions incite more violence. I believe that Donald Trump is using all of this for his own nefarious political purposes. I believe in democracy, not in autocracy. And I think one of the things we're going to have to wrestle with in the days ahead is presidential power. Now, all of this comes down to the United States Supreme Court and what the Supreme Court will do, because clearly the Republicans are not going to do anything in Congress. They are not going to try to prevent Donald Trump from using the tactics he is employing. And so the courts will have to decide. And one has to hope that the Supreme Court, with Chief Justice John Roberts presiding, will do the right thing. Gavin Newsom was correct on one key point. It is democracy that is in question, and we must stand firmly, unalterably, for democracy, not autocracy. So how will this play out? We're going to watch carefully, and so will you, and so will the American people. We will decide in the end at the polls whether or not the policies this president is pursuing are correct or not. In the meantime, it's up to the courts. And for all of us who are deeply concerned about the future of our country, and with the whole world watching us, let's just hope things go the right direction. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which is, of course, our goal. You can interact with me, as many as you have, by going to LinkedIn, by going to Facebook, by emailing me directly, and some of you even have the audacity to pick up the phone and call me. That's fine. And I want to say a special thank you to Gogo Zoger, who is the producer of this podcast. Gogo gets us up and running every single day, and for that, I am very grateful. I am John Rothman, and you are listening to Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you tomorrow.